He has arrived in Tianjin, China, where he will be attending the 2025 SCO Summit. The meeting comes at a pivotal moment for India-China relations against a shifting global and regional backdrop. Modi's visit to China follows a high-profile stop in Japan, where he focused on trade, security and technology ties. His presence at the SCO Summit will mark his first meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Chinese soil since the Galwan Valley clash in 2020. While border disputes and diplomatic strains persist, Modi's arrival at SCO signals India's intent to engage pragmatically through multilateral platforms. The summit offers space for dialogue, cooperation and management of differences in efforts to balance regional power and maintain stability. What does that truly mean? I take that conversation forward. Joining us on the broadcast is Mr. William Yang. He's an analyst. Mr. Yang, I want to understand from you. There is a larger global context in which the SCO Summit is taking place this year, and that context is pretty critical to understand. There are leaders of countries that are currently actively engaged in war who are present. For example, Russia's Vladimir Putin. The heads of India and Pakistan are present at the SCO Summit, and India and Pakistan were just engaged in a short but dramatic conflict very recently. However, the larger global context, Mr. Yang, is the tariff war. The fact that several nations are now feeling the heat of American tariffs. In your perspective, how critical will discussions on trade and bilateral relations be as far as this particular summit is concerned?
Yes, I think this summit is definitely a very important platform and occasion for all these countries that are currently experiencing a heightened tariff pressure coming from the US to signal that they are beginning to identify some common grounds for them to, in fact, try to seek deeper engagement, if not solid cooperation. Because as you have pointed out, these tariff situations are remaining very fluid. The White House could change its mind in a blink second, and countries will have to constantly be reacting to that as well. But at the same time, I think for especially China, India, and Russia, they are seeing a need to start to talk about, explore possibilities to deepen engagement, especially I think on the trade and bilateral economic front, especially I think for China and India, both are still facing a very fluid situation and a constant potential uptick of pressure coming from the US. So toning down and amending some of the strained ties following the border conflict in 2020 is necessary for both parties. But at the same time, there are existing and long-standing frictions that will limit the scope and the prospect of actual substantive progress.
Mr. Yang, in your perspective, how is the SCO then positioning itself as a viable alternative to Western-led alliances like, say, the NATO and G7? Is that something that's even possible at this point in time?
I think as of now, the SCO remains a very loosely aligned set of countries that expands across a wide geographic range, because we know that there are also more than a dozen countries that are waiting to witness the outcome of this summit to decide whether they want to deepen their engagement in this platform. But I think it is indeed emerging as a potential platform for major developing powers like China and India to actually use it to deepen their leverage and influence in especially the global south. But at the same time, there are a very wide range of divergence on a whole range of different issues that all the member states of SCO will have to start to deepen their engagement and actually find potential common grounds to form consensus before we can actually even consider whether the SCO can indeed become a potential rival organization for these rising powers against NATO and G7, which are, has a much longer history, is a much established organization. There is a very consistent structure and consistent common goals for all the member states to work towards.
Okay, Mr. Yang, before we let you go, one last question. As a follow-up on that, I want to understand from your perspective, do you see the expansion of the SCO with new members coming in, such as Iran and Belarus, as a message primarily to the West at this point in time, or is this a desire for greater regional cooperation, which could perhaps lead to a more solidified SCO in the coming years?
I think first and foremost, it remains a very important diplomatic signaling to primarily the United States, especially coming from Beijing, because we know that the long-term strategic competition between the two countries are only going to intensify, and there is really no room for both sides to soften their stance at this point. So I think considering the range of countries in different parts of the world that are waiting to become full members of the organization, diplomatic signaling remains the primary goal for now. And like I said before, I think there is a long list of issues that, in fact, all the member states will have to start seriously engage in dialogue before we can even consider whether the SCO could really become a more serious and more influential organization going forward.
All right, Mr. Yang, thank you.